Hey everybody, this is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com. We're back with this week's new comic book reviews. I know, late again. Another busy week at work, so it's tough to get these done. It's long. But anyways, so we'll go through, we got some more of my favorite Halloween movies. So we have Nightbreed, which I love, and the Shout Factory has the longer version, the Cabal cut, which I think is, I love the theatrical, but I really love the kind of more original, what Clive Barker was going for. Then we have Phantom of the Paradise, which is just really freaking brilliant. It's Brian De Palma's kind of homage it is his homage to Phantom of the Paradise, and it's goofy, very goofy, great songs and everything. Then we have Fright Night, The Omen, the original, the best one. We also have Carrie, and then down here we have Piranha, we have Cat People. Let me get out of the way. We have From Hell, which somewhat adapts a graphic novel. It's more of the Jack the Ripper story. Then we have The Witch, which is really, really brilliant modern horror film. Really super creepy. And then we have Peter Jackson's The Frighteners, which I'm a huge fan of. I really love The Frighteners. And if you've never seen it, I highly recommend that. I really, really love that movie a lot. So there's some picks for you for stuff to watch. And now we get to, it's pretty good sized week this week. Lots of stuff. DC's, All In, kicked off last week. So it's gonna, there'll be the Absolute stuff, because next week will be Absolute Wonder Woman, which will be the second Absolute book, and then all the regular DC titles still continue and everything, along with new and returning stuff. So but first up this week we have Batman and Robin Year One, written by Mark Waid with artwork by Chris Samnee. First of all, this is not the first time these two have worked together. They did a really good run on Captain America over at Marvel, which was really fantastic. Basically what this is, it's Bruce and Dick Grayson's first kind of night out as Batman and Robin. Of course, Dick's very cocky, he wants to get out and everything. And, he leaps before he thinks. And so, Bruce is kind of trying to teach him all this stuff of like, you gotta do it, this way and that way. And, so really the first villain they run into is Two-Face. So, once again, Bruce has to kind of keep, Dick under control, because he's just like all gun-ho and everything. And he's like, it's not that simple. This is really a fun book. I mean, I'm a really big fan of Mark Waid, but I love Chris Samnee. His artwork is absolutely just stunning. And they work so well together. It's like, they basically, co-plotted the story, and then Waid, fleshed it out in the script. And then, of course, Samnee does the artwork. And it's really, not only is it great because it's like year one, it's, kind of back to basics, and it's just so much fun. That's really the big thing. It's just, it's not too dark or anything like that. It's kind of what comics are, what makes comics fun, and they're really good at it. And Waid and Samnee just nail this. I mean, if you're looking for just a good, solid Batman and Robin story, you can't really beat this one. It's like fresh, but it's also very old school at the same time. It honors the past while, really telling stories that were never quite there. This is kind of those in-between things where, when Robin was introduced, it's just like, oh, here's Robin, they're going out and they're going to beat up bad guys. Where Waid and Samnee are kind of filling in those gaps of like really the story kind of behind those stories that were pretty basic. So it's really well worth checking out. I loved it. I can't wait to see where it goes. And very excited. I was very excited about this book, and it delivered on all fronts. It really is fantastic. Really a must buy this week. Next up, we have Mystique #1, written and drawn by Declan Shavely. So what this is, obviously post Krakoa, where Maverick is hunting Mystique, and she's obviously able to change into anybody, so she's hard to find. And so it looks like she's kind of become this assassin. We're not sure, but what it is Nick Fury Jr. gets kind of involved. He kind of finds out, and his dad, Nick Fury, tells him, hey, you need to really find Mystique because she's going to be a problem and everything. And really that's kind of the basic setup. I liked it. I just didn't quite love it. I think it's off to an okay start. Shelby, he kind of starts off with the whole Maverick, where she's like mimicking him and stuff and taking out the team, and and then it shifts to Fury Jr., and it just like it's a lot of exposition. And the thing is, it's like, I get that he doesn't want to reveal everything at once, but it's also like I kind of don't know that I was fully invested in like, oh my god, I got to really read the second issue. I will definitely give. I mean, Shavely is a really great creator, and I'm definitely give the second issue a shot. But it didn't necessarily grab me enough to like, oh my god, I really want to. I really want to read the second issue. I will say it has a good, gotcha ending, which I will not reveal, but it's kind of like, okay, like I enjoyed it. I mean, his art's really fantastic. I mean, the art's really, really nice, but the story just kind of like a little too exposition-y and never quite really, formed as, I think a really solid first issue. I think it's a good first issue, not amazing. Next up, we have Where Monsters Lie, Cull-De-Sac, #1, written by Kyle Starks, with artwork by Piotr Kowalski. So now this is the second story arc for Where Monsters Lie. So if you have not read that, do not pick this book up because you're going to be really lost of what's going on. Now I know there's a trade of the first one, which I really did enjoy. The first miniseries. Basically what it is there's this community of serial killers, and each community has like like a leader, who oversees, to make sure that that if they go out and kill people, that they're not found out. They live in these gated communities, and they're kind of like normal people, but they're serial killers that all live on the same streets. And so what has happened is that Zell, the first one, the Wilmhurst was, they discovered, it was found out by the, the police and everything. And then there was Connor Hayes, who was, saw a serial killer when he was a kid, has grown up to kind of be like, an agent, and is looking for serial killers, and he finds them. And then of course he becomes kind of a serial killer himself, to take out the serial killers. That's the premise of kind of the first one. So Zell takes Connor and his wife, who's part of, she's part of the serial killer family, to this B site where Barry runs it, not very well. And so you have new and different serial killers. There's also one of the boys, the boy who escaped from the first one. He's with the serial killer and a giant killer dog. So that's going on. Like I said, you really have to read the first one to kind of get, to definitely go into the second story arc. So that's kind of tough when you have a #1, because people may go, oh, this looks kind of interesting, and you're going to be totally lost. But I would say, I really liked it. I'm a big fan of Kyle Starks, and I really like what he did in the first miniseries. It was just off the hook because, you think of like this normal, gated community that's all, but with serial killers. That was the basic premise, and it was really wild. And and what's interesting about this second story arc is he really builds. We've got that basic structure. Now he gets to introduce kind of more wild things, and it's really crazy in this second story arc. But I really liked it. But once again, I go back. You really have to read the first story arc before you even start this. So just keep that in mind. Next up, we have Vicarious #1. Written by Ryan Parrott with artwork by Eleonora Carlini. So what this is we're introduced to Justin, who's this kind of aimless 20-year-old. He doesn't really have a job, doesn't know what he wants to do. And he, one night he goes out to a bar, and what it is there's people that have implants, and it allows other people, they become like proxies where you can kind of, you don't jump into their body, you don't take it over, but you experience everything that they do. So you can live vicariously through them. So, it's basically like pretty people, and they go out and you can be that somewhat pretty person, on a date or whatever and stuff like that. So it's like you can visit, people that are, doing this in other countries. It's kind of like, it's not against the law, but there's kind of like a bit of a gray area. So he saves a Christian who tells him, hey, go to this guy, like this tattoo guy, but he'll actually give you an implant. And of course, Justin can't afford it. So he kind of like, okay, I'll take, 50% of what you earn until you pay back, instead of 10,000, you pay me back 15,000. And so Justin kind of starts being this proxy. And, at first, he, cause there's like a Reddit community of people who want to be, ask for a proxy. So, Justin's still new to the whole thing, but there's a neat twist at the end. I think it was, the concept here is really, really good. I like the concept. The first issue is kind of exposition, but it moved along nicely. Parrott does a good job of moving the story along, but I never felt like, oh my God, they're explaining way too much stuff. And Carlini's artwork is nice. It really fits, the story very well. It's definitely worth checking out. Like I said, I was kind of surprised by it. And like I said, the concept's really good. So we'll kind of see, there's kind of a twist at the end. So we'll see where that takes us. But very interesting book this week. Next up, we have Nightwing #118, written by Tom Taylor, with pencils by Bruno Redondo, with inks by Caio Felipe. So, very sad to say, this is the last of the Taylor Redondo story arc. This is the Fallen Grayson part 5 of 5. So, this is their swan song on Nightwing, which has absolutely been amazing. It's been an incredible run on the book. And so this really wraps up. It's really the wrapping up of the Heartless storyline that's been running throughout their story for quite a while. We didn't notice it in the beginning, but really it's the final battle with Heartless to save not only Dick but Bloodhaven from this corruption that's been going on, and really with taking Alfred's money that was left to Dick to really, kind of really turn Bloodhaven into, a city that people want to live in. So that's really, and I'm trying not to give away, I don't want to give away any story. It was actually a very emotional ending. It was actually, I was really sad to read this final issue because it wraps up their storyline really great. And it just, really, it's not a big, somewhat splashy ending, and which is really, really fits the tone of what they have done with this book, and it's just absolutely been amazing. So, it's really sad to see an end, but I'm also glad that they left the book on a high note. They didn't wear out their welcome, which sometimes happens way too much. So, they went out gracefully, and it really, really shows. So, there's collections, and they'll finish the collection up with this last issue. So, I cannot recommend, Tom Taylor and Bruno Redondo's run of Nightwing enough. It's really been a spectacular book, and it will be interesting to see. I know Tom Taylor's moving on to Detective Comics. I don't know where Bruno Redondo's going to go to, but I'm sure we'll see something from him hopefully from DC soon. Next up, we have From the World of Minor Threats, Barfly #3, with the script by Kyle Starks. Plot by Kyle Starks, Patton Oswalt, and Jordan Bloom, and artwork by Ryan Brown. Basically, Barfly, whose name is Shit Eater, the entomologist, which is his kind of villain, he's kind of a lackey for that villain, is back in full power. And so, Barfly is basically kind of, he's gotten him back onto the group. He doesn't want to be part of, he doesn't want to be a villain. He wants to be in this band with a coworker. And, that's what he really wants to do. But Entomologist, basically says, no, you're going to come with me. You're my lackey. And so then, Entomologist's big hero, to his villain is Sunburst, which is basically kind of Green Lantern. Not Green Lantern, but kind of Green Lantern. And so Entomologist, sets it up to capture, Sunburst and to, basically get more power from him. I will leave it at that. This has been really fun so far. It'll be really interesting where Starks takes the book. Once again, I'm a huge fan of Kyle Starks. And Ryan Brown, who, hopefully you read 8 Billion Genies, and his artwork on that was amazing. He is absolutely very perfect for this. He really captures the insanity of the Minor Threats world and, Stark's script. And this is just, and I like what Patton Oswalt and Jordan Bloom, who created Minor Threats, is, once again, they do kind of they've done the main story, but then there's all these side stories that they're getting different creators to do, and it's really just kind of a brilliant theory. And I'm really loving Barfly. I like what they're doing with that. So definitely well worth checking out. Next up, we have Minor Arcana #2, written and drawn by Jeff Lemire. So what it is excuse me, Teresa's come back to take care of her mother who's has cancer, and this local woman comes in, Jeannie, and she wants her tarot reading. And so Teresa does it, but she kind of goes into this kind of other world where she meets Gene, who is the husband of Jeannie, who has passed away, but he's created basically like a heaven. So when Jeannie passes away, he can come and, kind of they can, be in the next life together again. So, she's discovering that she has these powers, and it kind of freaks her out. And so obviously that's going to be like a bigger thing going down the road. What has she tapped into? And, it's very interesting. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Jeff Lemire. I really like what this is going. I will say, this is apparently it's going to be a long form story. So, it's going to be kind of one of those things to where, it might, for some people, it might be worth trade waiting for when he does these story arcs. I don't know how long, he hasn't revealed how long the story is going to be, but I do like it. And I think I do like it in these short bursts and everything, but for some people, especially with a lot of Lemire stuff, it does really work reading it kind of in one shot. But I still think it's well worth picking up. I really like this book, and it's really well worth checking out. Next up, we have Moon Knight Fist of Konshu #1, written by Jed MacKay with artwork by Alessandro Capuccio. So so here's the problem that I have with a lot of Marvel number ones. This is not really a number one. This is a continuation of Jed MacKay's run on Moon Knight. They're just renumbering it number one. It would be basically, I don't know, issue number 40 or whatever. And that's kind of part of the problem, in the sense of, if you're reading it as a new reader, you're going to be totally lost, because it basically is just the next part of an ongoing story that MacKay is writing about, Moon Knight. And, once again, so, I haven't been reading it, so I sat down and read this, and I'm like, once again, going in as a new reader. And it's not that I don't understand it. It's just like, there's so much backstory that, like, I have kind of no idea what's really going on. The basic story here is that Moon Knight goes into, like, this mobster's, bar, and he kind of talks with him and everything, and that's really pretty much it. There's a kind of a fight with his goons and stuff, but really it's like, I have no clue of what's going on. I don't know any of these people, and it's just, I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, it's just that you have to have been reading Moon Knight for a while to know what the heck's going on. So I can't recommend it as a number one unless you've been reading other things. So if you want to go back and read what Jed MacKay has been doing on Moon Knight, then you'll understand what is happening here. Otherwise, I wouldn't bother picking this up, because it's not really a number one. And that's, I will say Cappuccio's artwork's nice and everything, and the story's decent, but I had no clue of what's going on, and that's really frustrating when you have a number one book that's not really a number one book. So that's that problem. Next up, we have Wonder Woman number 14, written by Tom King, with artwork by Daniel Sampierre. So this is going to be a really tough and probably very short review, because this changes a lot of things for this book going forward, and I cannot tell you without, and I will not spoil anything. The basic thing is, we do learn, Trinity's origin is revealed in this issue. That is a fact. And basically Diana tries to save Steve Trevor. That's a fact. So what this story does, it takes place over, let me look at it, 50 days. So there's a lot of kind of time jumping. And I will say that King's very smart in the fact that it puts what day you're on, so you understand the context of what is happening that day compared to day 50. So it jumps around, but you will not be lost. Like I said, this will really change the book going forward. Some people are going to be maybe upset by this. I think, I would say that there are things that I wouldn't necessarily have chosen to do, but King usually has reasons for things. And as we all know, nothing in comics is ever permanent. I shall say that. But I think the real thing is, and what I love that King is doing with this book is really giving, Diana a huge, the book's about Diana. It's always like I always say, you're not writing Batman about Batman. You write about Bruce Wayne. The Batman part comes easy. And that's the thing that works well here. Tom King is writing Diana's story, and the Wonder Woman stuff is very, very easy to do, stuff like that. But it's about her and her character, and that's what he's really doing here. I love this book. I love the fact that he's doing something different, because I always say that Wonder Woman is the most unappreciated book for creators, because no matter what people do, people are, love it or hate it, and there really is not a big middle ground. And, once again, King and Sampierre are going for the long term here. And that's what I really like about this book so much, is that they are willing to really go for the long form story. That, there's short bits in between, but really this first story arc really ends here, and we'll see where they take it in the future. And I'm really excited about that. And it'll be, we also know, with the Trinity special, that Trinity is going to get her own book, I believe, next year. We don't have a firm date, but it is. But King is writing it, and Bella Ortega, who's been doing the Trinity backups, is going to be doing it. Hopefully, Daniel Saint-Pierre stays on the book, because I will say the art is stunning on this book. And I will one of my favorite pages is the splash page with the giant shark, which is the pages that I'm gonna pick are gonna be really tough, because I don't want to spoil anything. So you'll see some weird pages, but in this review, but just don't worry. Just make sure you buy this book and pick it up and read it. And hopefully you've been reading Wonder Woman, because it's absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have The Exorcism at 1600 Penn, #1, written by Hannah Rose May, with artwork by Vanessa Del Rey. So what this is the Kelly Doyle, the first female president, and her son Kevin and Maria, daughter, they're going to a Catholic school. And of course, so part of the story is about her being a president, and there's kind of this psychological weapon that is happening, but they're not sure what it is and everything. So there's that part. And then we have Kevin and Mara going to school. And of course, Kevin is the older one, so he kind of fits in a little better. Mara is a little bit of the outcast. And then at one point, Mara gets possessed by a demon. So that's the exorcism part. I was really kind of baffled by this book. I think it had some good ideas. It just really kind of fell flat, because, it took so long to get to the point of the exorcism. And I will say it wasn't necessarily bad by any, but I mean, I think the problem is, by the time we get to the exorcism, I didn't really care anymore. And it's not that the characters are uninteresting. I think it's just one of those things. It's like you kind of threw a lot in. It's like, okay, I get she's the president, and, does what's going on with her have anything to do with the kids? Maybe it does. We don't know. And it's just kind of like, it was, by the end of this issue, I'm like, okay, that's nice. But, I'm not really impressed enough to come back for a second issue. That is kind of its flaw. I will say Del Rey's artwork is nice. It, really gives it a good kind of creepy vibe visually, but the story just kind of really fell flat for me. So that was a bit of a problem. Next up, we have Batman Full Moon #1, written by Rodney Barnes, with artwork by Steven Subic. So now, Subic did the Riddler miniseries with the Riddler, Paul Dano, who played the Riddler in the Batman film. And so that's, I think a lot of people are going to be very familiar with his artwork. So the basic story here is that the Christian Talbot has been brought to Gotham, in Wayne Pharmaceuticals. He basically, he's a werewolf, and he's a Lycan. And so, he escapes and everything. And of course, he's big and bad, and it's not pretty in Gotham. And so Bruce, with the help of Kurt Langstrom, who is the Man-Bat, Zatanna and John Constantine, are trying to basically contain this werewolf. This is this first issue's all set up and everything, introduces the werewolf and everything, and then it doesn't go well for Bruce at the end of the first issue, so we'll see what happens. This is a Black Label series, so it's out of continuity. It'll be its own thing. I thought the first issue was pretty good. A lot of it definitely is Subic's artwork is really amazing, and the way the way his art just makes this a great horror story. I mean, it's creepy just visually. Barnes, the script is good. Once again, this first issue is a lot of exposition, but it sets things up. And, we'll kind of see where it goes in the second issue. I mean, it's a basic werewolf story in some ways, but then you throw in, Batman and other superheroes. So we'll kind of see where it goes. But I did like this first issue, and I think it's well worth checking out. Especially Subic's art's just gorgeous in this. So at the very least, it's well worth checking out for that. Next up, we have Uncanny X-Men number 4. We've had number 1. Now we're up to number 4. Written by Gail Simone with artwork by David Marquez. So this one, the last issue, Wolverine was attacked by Sarah Gaunt, who is basically trying to round up the mutants. And so this is kind of the big showdown between Rogue and Sarah Gaunt. That really is the big crux of this issue. And I like what Gale is doing here, where, the first few issues have been, kind of on the, building of characters and everything. We get a little more action this issue with Rogue versus Gaunt. But, we also have the other subtle things that are going on under the main story, with the Xavier School being turned into a prison now, and that going on. So there's that story is still going on kind of underneath, and it's that's all things go together. That's why Gaunt is after them, because she's there to capture the mutants and take them back to prison. And so Rogue, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, and then the new kids are, hopefully going to stop her and find out, what's... And, of course, Professor Xavier's missing. We don't know why, but we're seeing flashbacks of him, and the warden of the prison. So there's a lot kind of going on that is slow. It's kind of... Like I said, what I like about what Simone's doing here is kind of a slow burn story, superhero story, which I think is actually good for the book. And then Marquez's artwork is really great. I'm really enjoying what they're doing, and I also like the fact that all the X books right now are on their own, the main books. I'm not counting any of the miniseries and all that kind of stuff. Like Mystique. Mystique is just its own thing, but and they're. It's just, that's a really good idea, because I think part of the problem with the X-Men for the longest time has been all this mess is tied together. And it's like, no, I just want to read this book. And this is what's, I'm liking about these separate books, allows you to pick and choose. If you want to read them all, great. But, so far for me, X Factor and Uncanny X-Men have really been the cream of the crop for me. So those are the ones to check out. And I really like what Simone and Marquez is doing here. So definitely still worth picking up. And then finally this week we have Jenny Sparks, number 3, written by Tom King, with artwork by Jeff Spokes. So Captain Atom is in a bar. He's got hostages. So Jenny's, there to kind of fix the problem. But then the Justice League shows up and it's like, oh no, we'll handle it. And it does not go well. The one thing about Captain Atom is, and we've learned this is not a spoiler, is that he can do things and then basically reset things. So it's pretty messed up what he does to the Justice League. And I'm trying not to spoil it too much, because it is pretty spectacular, especially visually. Spokes really just goes, it's Black Label, kids. But it's interesting because Jenny really, I think she knows how to take out Captain Atom, and that's why, but the Justice League's like, oh, well, we're in charge, we'll take care of it. And once again, doesn't go well. So that's where, I think we're kind of learning more, each issue a little bit about Jenny. Now this issue is definitely more of like, subtlety and stuff, with the big battle. But I like what is happening here, but I do feel that this is going to be one of those, once again, it's going to be one of those stories that will probably really read well in its entirety. Now, I'm not saying that I am liking each issue, but I think it's going to really read really well as a complete story. So, but I like what, King and Spokes was doing here. And like I said, Spokes' art is stunning. This is a really great looking book. And I also like that they're, kind of bringing, Jenny Sparks and hopefully the rest of the Authority into, kind of the DC universe, because they're really great characters and stuff. And I'm glad that, they're finally getting used. So that's a big plus on that. So still worth checking out. But like I said, it might be worth it for some people for a trade weight on this particular book. So that's going to do it this week. As always, public service announcement. I get all my comics at Pulp Fiction Comics, Long Beach, California. Ryan Skinner is the owner and runs a great store. It's a great comic store. There's Annie, there's Wendy, Derek runs their socials. It's a really good, solid comic book shop. If you're in the Southern California area near Long Beach, I highly recommend checking it out. And make sure you also support your local comic shop, no matter where you live, because not everybody, lives in Southern California. But always support your local comic shop. They're the backbone of the industry. And if you buy your physical comics, make sure you pick them up on a regular basis, because they have to buy them before you do. So if you have a pull, make sure you pick up your books on a timely basis, and so they're not on the lurch for stuff. So I know times are tough, but just make sure if you order something, pick it up so they don't get stuck with it. And as always, we end our show with be kind. Be kind to each other. It doesn't cost anything to be kind. And, be kind to yourself. Trust me, things are crazy in the world right now on many, many different levels. We're all, just on pins and needles for lots of different reasons that we don't go into on this show. But I know it's tough out there on many, people are out of work. There's the election, all this stuff, it's hard. It's hard to sometimes, to not think about things. But the best thing you can do is be kind to yourself and be kind to others, because just taking care of yourself is very, very important right now. And also being kind to others, I understand, things can get tough, things you can get frustrated, but just take a deep breath and it'll all, just let it out. Just be kind to others and be kind to yourself. So just I say read more comics. Read comics and watch movies. That'll help a lot. That's going to do it this week. Thanks for watching. As always, please like and subscribe and share our wonderful videos here. A lot of new subscribers lately. Thanks for joining us. Comments are always welcome. If you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate. And that's going to do it this week. Hopefully next week we'll get on a little bit back on the earlier track instead of the late weekend getting these up. But we'll just see how things are go, because once again, the 9 to 5 has been tough lately. So, but thanks for watching. This is Steven from PopCultureMaven.com signing off. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.